𝗍𝗟, it was a long time we planned that trip to go and see Salty.
Looking forward to that.
And Gaso, it's a happy day that we are able to make it today.
I cannot wait to be there.
Gaso,
I cannot wait to see the guy.
I know, Gaso.
I only hope you remember us.
Yes, he will. So Gaso Salty sharp like hell, you know. So, and he must call you. So he'll always remember us, bro. Salty, Mok Gaso, Mok.
Mr. Salty, very happy to see you. Very happy to see you. Very, very, very happy. We were looking forward for that day, man, and that day came. This guy you see in there, he was a strict fella at work, very strict. Perfect. Everything had to be perfect. If not, you have to solve the problem with the boss. But yet he was a good boss, very good boss. I can tell you that.
Well, I worked with him before you because when I joined in '65, in these days, Salty was Matthew Sabbath.
When you hear that name,
noisy fella. When you hear
that name,
Sabbath,
everybody
passing. You must hear his voice anywhere in town.
Well, hello everybody.
Hey,
everybody. How are you? How are you? Yes, he was.
Mr. Peoples, nice seeing you.
What brings you here? What brings
We are here to meet the star of our show.
Very good, very good. That's what
Tell us a little bit about your early journey into LUCELEC. Was it LUCELEC at the time when you joined?
Public Works, PWD.
Okay. And that's where you started?
Yes.
What did you start as?
I started as an electrician under the heading of Mr. 𝗍𝗍 who was in charge of the hydro at the time.
Hydro? We had hydro at the time?
The two hydros, two 45 kV turbines. And the water used to come from the river, come through the canal at Diamond, through Soufrière Estate, and into the hydro 𝗍𝗲. We had some lamps all over Soufrière. But for you to change the bulbs, you had to carry the ladder and the bulbs string up with some wires. But at one point I was sent alone to remove to change those bulbs when they were burnt. So I took a long bamboo and I made a grapnel with a string. So I would put my bulb inside, send my grapnel up, pull my string down, it will hold the bulb that's already on the pole, remove it, change it. So it was a one-man job.
Who were some of the friends that you remember fondly?
Well, one of the mid fellows was Gilbert Joseph, Mok. He was in charge of the office. He would do the clerical work. We had fellows like Alfred Felix, 𝗍𝗍, the Alexanders, which was Puto. These were the people catching it when things are bad.
Yes.
When we had no water for the hydro, everybody would walk up the river and divert the water into the canal so that we can run the turbine.
Tell me about your first MD.
Harry and Thistle.
Ah, that was the guy from the UK.
He came in as LUCELEC, but the man before, I could remember it was we had Mr. Edmund, who was an engineer with public works, and that we had Mr. 𝗍𝗏. I don't know if he's related to Oldman 𝗍𝗏 or brother to Oldman 𝗍𝗏.
In comes Bernard Thibault from having studied in the UK. He comes and he takes over. What was that relationship like with him?
Well, when Bernard was coming to St. Lucia, I got a telephone call to meet him on the airport, Vieux-Fort.
So you were the one who actually picked him up at the airport?
I was the first electricity man he met was. And since then he has worked. I've worked with him like a father, a son, a brother. I could remember every time my staff would put me to him, the first thing he would ask them was, what you did to him? Up to a point, one of my staff did something, it warranted dismissal. So when he spoke about dismissing the guy, I said, you cannot dismiss the guy. This is the only one I have I have men on leave, and he's an operator. Other than that, I will have to operate the station myself as a shift breaker. I can remember he slammed the door and he told Tim Chatterton, leave him there, let them bust his backside because he could report them, but he doesn't want them to fire them. That's a man who knew me, and I knew him. I knew what he wanted. I would not do anything to displease him. 𝗍𝗲 remained without electricity for about 3 nights because a swarm of bees was on top of the pole. I was not the electrician, I was in charge of the power station, I was a mechanic. But Compton called Bernard Peebles and told him, send Sabah to get this thing working. T&D haven't got beekeepers. So with the union, you could not send the men up there. I was not unionized, I was a superintendent, so I took the task to do it. To work with electricity services, you have to be devoted. Storm, lightning, you can't say you're not going, the public depend on you, what you're going to do.
I heard that you went to Germany, spent some time there, and came back and was one of the first persons to power what is now, maybe in the entire region, one of the greatest power generation areas, if you want to call it that way, or departments throughout the region, and that is at 𝗪𝗪𝗪. Tell me about that.
Well, let me give you one before that. Union Power Station, I did the electrical installation at Union Power Station. I had already wired the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Power Station. When I finished Union Power Station, at the opening, Mr. 𝗍𝗲 brought me by the sea, and he said, we have some leave for you, Matthew. You better take it because you're going to England. I said, to do what? He said, you are going to England. I said, to do what, sir? He said, you are going to England, prepare yourself. So I went to England for 3 months, where I spent some time in Lincoln with Napier blowers. I spent some time in Slough with Woodwood governors, and in Birmingham with CAB. And the rest of the time was spent at Bedford, building number 3 at 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪.
So you were one of the first persons to power the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 power station?
I didn't only power the power station. I was in England, in Kiel in Germany, to see the installation of the crankshaft and everything for the 2 MBK engines at 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. When the engines came down here, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, the German fella, my staff, myself, that engine was installed. When they kept on trying, there were failures. One morning, Rafik, the Indian electrician, thought I could just go about and accept the power station as is, and they would rectify the problems later. I said, no, I did not sign that power station, accepting that power station, until Mr. Peebles had to tell me, Matthew, accept the power station, and they rectify later on.
So you're the man who turned the key, and up to the day like today,
they're still running.
They're still running. Well, God bless you, because now we are quiet. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sergeant. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, right, good.
Well, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be in your presence. You would be what I call the LUCELEC originals, there since 1965. So we've got Gilbert Joseph and McNeil Etienne. And you gentlemen form part of a team that really started it all. So give us a little bit of insight into the history of 60 years ago.
I started in December 1965. At the time when I joined LUCELEC, I joined as a payroll clerk and meter reader. But in those days, you had to be an all-rounder in LUCELEC because that was the only place in St. Lucia where you had water turbines. So it means that anytime there's heavy rains and so on, and the turbines would run short, everybody would go to the river and try and clean it up so that water could come down to generate power to 𝗧𝗵𝗲 town. By then we got in 2 𝗲𝗡 engines. These were diesels, so that helped out the situation a hell of a lot. Then it came to our doing the meter reading and so on, which you'd have to do. Go and read the meters, and then you send the readings to Castries, and the bills were prepared by hand. So I still had to go back and deliver the bills. While doing that, I was still the payments clerk, doing all the payments to the workers, and also the office clerk, meaning that I had to be receiving people that want new connections, disconnections, reconnections, and so on.
When LUCELEC took over, I started working in the T&D section when they first took over. Then, but I did came from Castries City Council, and I was absorbed to the new company. I also did the meter reading. We work on the high voltage. There were 2 sets of lines, 11,000 volts, and there was 6,000 volts.
Mark, tell us a little bit about your training as you went along.
When I was transferred to Castries, the first thing, we had a written payroll. Now, they introduced a Kalamazoo system whereby you had a pay slip, a payroll, and a personal record. After that, we started going through the whole accounting system, which was manual with the general ledger and so on. So that went on for a few years until when we moved from the building by the church to the building by rail. The first computer was bought by LUCELEC to start doing billing by computer.
How many staff members roughly did LUCELEC have in the early years?
It looked to be about 150 people. It was about 150 of us. Right. Because the payroll staff, senior and junior, were just about 50 people. And the T&D, the different chargeants, each of them about 10 people, and they were about, so that would be about 150 people.
What was your most difficult period working with the company?
Customers, the money was low. LUCELEC coming in, I mean, the money was low coming in, and then diesel had gone up. So you find that the company was kind of low on funds to pay HES at the time and so on. And we had to develop certain strategies like paying every week instead of paying every month and so on. Well, these are the most trying times at the time.
In the very beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning.
As a growing company.
Yeah.
Kari, difficult, challenging period for you?
There comes a time that some people want a little more pay, and it was I don't know if I could fit that in, and there was a little problem with strike and so on. They had a heavy strike and so on, but then I did not partake in the strike. I worked, and I was threatened. My home was threatened. My family was threatened, you know. But then but I worked, and nothing happened and so on. And but I can tell you, it was the most beautiful place to work is LUCELEC.
Mark, did you feel that it was national service that you were doing? Because nowadays, persons who are generally working because they have to work and make the money. Okay? That's part of our culture today. What I'm understanding coming back from you is that you felt that you actually had a vested interest in the development of the country. Would that be a true assessment?
Yes. Well, definitely, it is a true assessment. Because I remember going back when I started taking over the accounts. It's not like now. You had to be doing quarterly accounts and year accounts in sterling plus in EC. Yeah. Because CDC was doing the management of the company.
And they were British company.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But you got some sort of gratification. You feel good to be able to sit down at the ending of every quarter, prepare monthly reports, see what the company is looking like financially and so on, and to sit down and prepare a balance sheet in pounds, just like you would do the EC. So you find yourself feeling very good going to work, as though you look forward to going to work.
So for you, it was in terms of your own personal development, that really meant a lot for you and your own personal pride. ฎ, in terms of what you saw happening in the country over that period of time, you would have seen the electrification of community by community.
We had switches on the poles. Some people had to go and put this, especially the women. We gave the women the jobs. The company gave the women the job because the women was, the husband was working in the company. So they gave the ladies the job to put the light on the pole.
Just around independence time, LUCELEC started a rural electrification program to put power at all the little communities, let's say like Martin, Choiseul, Saltibus, you had all the places, Dubonnet and all those places, and how government used to pay, because LUCELEC was doing it from its own funds. They used to call it a subvention at the ending of the year. We would check what amount of electricity was consumed in that particular area, and we would work out the cost of the plant and depreciate it and so on. And then we would bill government to pay the balance. Like if, for argument's sake, if you sell $1,000 worth of electricity for that area, but it actually costs you, generation and everything, $2,500. So you would bill government for $1,500.
Let's talk a little bit about the coming into the company of your first, I believe he was your first local managing director, Mr. 𝗍𝗲.
Everybody welcomed me with open arms, okay? And well, we started working with him. He had his own ideas about how he wanted the company. One thing I can tell you, under him, workers started getting a lot of benefits. For example, right now you can enjoy a pension separate from NIC. That came in through Mr. 𝗍𝗲's medical schemes and so on. He was a hard man when he wants his work done. And he was always tough when you come and see him. But below the man, you would see the man was just a gentle soul. And so on.
We had a lot of training. And a lot of people got promotions.
And then you'd have also had a little bit of Trevor Louisi as well, the beginning. How were their styles different?
Both men were totally different. Trevor would be very calm. Very calm, but he wants his work done. But 𝗍𝗲 was coming rough, but don't mind the roughness. At one point in time, I met him and we was discussing. I said, Mr. 𝗍𝗲, you know, I believe when we leave, I don't think the young guys will be able to take over the kind of way we putting into the work. Tell me, Kari, don't worry, man. They will take it up. I say, okay. And then so far, it's working well. It's working well. I have a lot of young. I don't even know the people that are working now, and we don't have power outages. We don't have problems.
As you look at the company, what's your insight or your feelings towards the development of the institution?
In my time, when Mr. 𝗍𝗲 and so on, the other generation engineers came in and so on, this complex was built. So that was built within my lifetime. Also, Union Power Station was built within my lifetime. So you find that when Mr. 𝗍𝗲 came in, he had a base, which was Union, and this was built while he was a manager. He later became managing director. So you find, when you look at what is happening now, vis-a-vis the days before, you could see that we, the old staff, we felt that we were part of an organization that we are looking forward to come in and put 8 hours and make sure it is good. But when you listen to the stories, like I am not going to say, when you listen to the stories, it's like most people think it is made already. So you just have to come in, work, get your 8 hours and go.
That's very interesting. If you had a word of advice to a young person, even in middle management or someone who's coming into LUCELEC, each of you separately, starting with 𝗪𝗲, what would that advice be?
All your mind and your body should be the job that you're doing, because that work is important, very important, very, very important. When that power goes off, you have to see that power come back as quickly as possible for the consumer, because people out there have their medication in the fridge, in the fridges or what have you, sick people, hospitals and so on. You have to make sure you have to give your body to that job. That job, LUCELEC job, is your body and your soul has to be in that job. If you're not ready for that job, don't stay in that job.
Very interesting, very firm, and that is from the technical standpoint. Let's take it from the non-technical standpoint. HR, payroll, customer service and so on, that you would have dealt with even tangentially. What would you tell someone who is in that area?
Well, if you're a young person coming into LUCELEC, the first thing I would tell you, is that the place you want to work? Based on your reply, I'll tell you LUCELEC is a very, very good place to work. But you have to put your mind in it, because don't forget, with LUCELEC, the customer comes first. After you satisfy the customer, then you can look at yourself and train yourself so that you can be of better use to the company. Okay? If you do not have this in mind, you can think of looking for another job, because LUCELEC is going to take care of you. If you don't have the mind to make sure that you give your all to the customer and to the company, no point in working.
Well, listen, 𝗪𝗲, thank you so much for the time that you spent with us today. I'm sure that St. Lucia will benefit greatly from this feature that we're showing right now, and also individuals at LUCELEC would also get a greater opportunity to have a lens back into the time when everything started, and for them to have a greater appreciation of the legacy and all the hard work that you all put in. I'm sure that LUCELEC thanks you, the nation thanks you for your dedication over the years, and continue to enjoy your retirement. It's certainly going very well with both of you. You gentlemen look like individuals who are still clocking in at LUCELEC at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I think that you're having a wonderful retirement time. So thank you again. Yeah.